You're listening to The Granite Discourse, a New Hampshire-based podcast with real discussions. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And for early access, subscribe to Patreon for just $1 a month. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Steve Smith.
Yes.
Welcome to The Granite Discourse.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. You're a New Hampshire State Representative. Where do you represent?
I represent Sullivan County District 3, Newport, Unity, Charlestown.
And you're also the Deputy
Speaker.
Okay. How does that work for somebody that's a legislator? Because you're up there. How do you get to vote when you're...
When you're presiding, no, you generally don't vote unless you need to break or create a tie.
Okay.
So, an example is there's a bill that we wanted, and it was tied, so it fails. Ties fail. Then I can cast a vote, break the tie, push the bill through. Or a bill that we didn't want succeeds by one vote. Then I vote to create a tie and kill the bill all by myself.
Now with Sherman Packard, if you're presiding over it, is he down voting or is he off taking a break? Like you guys flip it?
It happens both ways.
Okay. And how do you decide who does what would you call it? Proceeds?
He will give me a gesture and I go up and I stay up until he feels like coming back. When we had to do, during COVID, we were doing off-site meetings so that there was more space for social distancing. He wasn't feeling well the second day. We had a 3-day session scheduled. And he took off to go take care of himself. And I accidentally finished the calendar at the end of day 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just chugged right through it. The chief of staff comes over and said, I got $5,000 worth of food ordered for tomorrow. Like, not my problem. My problem is to get through the calendar as quickly and efficiently as possible, send the members home. Donate them. So that was good. They brought them to, I think, a homeless advocacy place.
Nice.
And distributed the sandwiches.
Nice.
But yeah, that's not my problem. My job is to get all the work done, get everybody home pronto.
You had some marathon sessions this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through worse. So we have crossover. You know what that is?
No.
Okay. So House bills originate in the House, and we have to process them all by a date in late March. And then those bills that passed go over to the Senate. The Senate was doing the same thing. And then the Senate bills that passed come over to the House.
Okay.
And those are a hard deadline. If you don't get your work done by the deadline, the bills just die on the vine. They're dead. So if committees are a little late getting stuff to us, we get stacked up for crossover. It happens. So yeah, we were going to have a 2-day session. One day was scheduled to go pretty late, and the speaker had a health problem, so he wasn't there. So yeah, I had a long day.
And I've seen some of the viral clips that pop up every once in a while, and it's pretty hilarious when you have to correct people and put them in their place.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep it light and still maintain order.
Yeah.
And if you're just dropping the hammer on them and you're hardcore all the time, it's kind of like if you yell at your kids every day, they just stop hearing it. So, I try to have a little fun up there while still respecting the decorum of the House. But so one that was fun, I knew I'd get away with it because he's my friend, Representative Jordan Ulrey. I had a whole bunch of people coming up to do parliamentary inquiries.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fake speech that you sneak in.
Yep.
So you're allowed to ask the chair a parliamentary question. So what they do is they get in a fake speech, like, Mr. Speaker, if I know that this bill will raise taxes by 30% and is the worst thing since sliced bread, then would I press the red button? So a lot of them forget to ask the question at the end. Now, these are supposed to be quick because they're just asking you a question. Rule of thumb is give me 3 prefaces if I know, and then say, would I press the whatever button? I had a whole bunch of them going up there with full-page speeches, and I'm like gaveling them one after the other. You're recognized for PI, not a speech. My friend Jordan gets up, and he's got this stack of paper. And Jordan, you're not going to read all of that, are you? And he goes, I have 6 pages. And I whipped my lighter out of my pocket, lit it, and said, I have this.
How long have you been the deputy speaker?
6 years now.
6 years. And now is that one that you're elected to be, or you picked?
No, nominated by the speaker. The only elected position is the speaker himself or herself, and then he appoints everybody, including the majority minority leaders. Now, generally, you take the minority recommendation, but still, all appointments flow from the speaker. How I got it is not a great story. Excuse me. So Dick Hinch, who was a good friend, had become the speaker and passed away a week later. Sherm was the deputy speaker, so you become the acting speaker when the speaker's not around. So, like, right now, excuse me.
You want bubble water?
Yes, please.
Oh. Come prepared. Yeah.
So, Dick passed away. Sherm becomes the acting speaker. Like right now, Sherm is out of state, so I'm the acting speaker. And unfortunately, you want to take time to process that and grieve, but the process is the very next order of business for the House has to be to elect a new speaker. We can't do anything else until that occurs.
Official business.
Yeah, that's just how it is. So I ran Sherm's campaign to get elected speaker, even though he's acting speaker. That succeeded, and then he appointed me deputy speaker, and been that way ever since.
So he's been the speaker for 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
Okay. And you're on the 8th term as a state representative.
I am, oddly.
And how did you get involved in state politics?
I was working for Fred Thompson during his primary campaign in 2007.
What was he running for?
President. Yes. Fred, he was one of the DAs on Law & Order for a while, older Southern guy. And in The Hunt for Red October, he was Admiral Painter.
Huh.
He's the one that had the quote, "You average Ruski don't take a dump without making a plan." But he was also a Tennessee senator.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. It was weird. He kind of got drafted. So we're doing a campaign, but we're not allowed to talk to the candidate because there is no campaign. So technically we're a PAC and you can't coordinate. The whole thing ended up being a disaster. But because I was doing that, I started going around to my local county Republican committee and other ones speaking and meeting people. And then they said, we need a lot of help with recruiting. We only have one Republican state representative in the entire county, and we have trouble filling seats. Sure, why not? I'll help. And that did not work. I failed as a recruiter. And the more people I talked to, the more the response became, well, you're out here. Why don't you do it? I'm like, oh, damn it. Okay. Not a guy to sit down when I'm asking others to stand up. So I just kind of threw my hands up and went, fine, you know what? I'll do it. And I did. I got smoked like most other Republicans in 2008, but I'd made a fatal mistake. I did it once, so now I'm the guy. Nobody else is going to do it. And, I mean, this district hadn't sent a Republican to Concord in like 30 years. Like, okay, I'll do it again. I already got the signs, whatever, and I campaigned in 2009 for the 2010 term, 2010. And election day, packed up our stuff, went home exhausted. My wife wakes me up the next morning and goes, well, we've got a problem. You won. Okay. Awkward conversation with my employer because I had a full-time job at the time, but they were like, yeah, we're mostly deadline and project driven. Still get your work done. We don't care. Do what you've got to do. And it worked out. I kept doing that for, I think 8 years.
What was that?
I had a few jobs there. It was a navigation tech company that went through some iterations. It began as geographic data technology. And the guy who owned it and ran it, Don Cook, actually invented digital mapping. So when you're using your GPS to go somewhere, that's driven on technology that he invented during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
And then it was bought out by a competitor, then it was bought out by a customer, and the jobs that I had there ranged from specifications. When you put road features in, the nav unit has to understand a left turn versus a left ramp, things like that. So I wrote a lot of the specifications. I was a trainer for 6 years for people that were coming into work, and curriculum developer, and then database quality analyst before I left. We did a lot of testing also, both on in-house applications and public-facing applications.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an interesting job, and I don't have a degree in any of that, but their processes are so proprietary that you can't really go to school to learn this.
Right.
So as long as you can operate a computer and in your head can visualize traffic patterns and understand them, then I can train you.
Nice.
So yeah, it was interesting.
So there was no like single issue that drove you into politics or anything like that. It was just kind of an accident then.
I get frustrated when politics are involved because a lot of things are just common sense issues. And if they'd stop with the labels, the buzzwords, and the identity politics and just talk about the thing, I think more people would agree.
Have you been a Republican your whole life?
Yeah. I became an Eagle Scout in 1981 and was fortunate enough to be in Washington, D.C., opening up a lot of the historical trails that were there. And we had the opportunity to go to the White House, and Ronald Reagan actually signed my card and handed it to me. So, yeah, I don't want to give people stuff. I want to help them be able to get it themselves, which I guess is one of the things that makes me a Republican.
Would you call yourself a traditional Republican?
I don't know. I'm really not good with labels. I've been called everything from a rhino to a radical extremist. Now I'm a free stater.
I was going to ask, are you a free stater too?
I am, yes. According to the opposition, I'm a free stater. I moved to New Hampshire in 1989. I didn't even know what the Free State Project was then. Did they exist then?
No.
I don't even know.
No, it started in like 2003 or 2004, I think.
All right. Well, I got them here. I beat them here. So.
Well, now you're one of them.
Oh, jeez. Isn't that how racism works?
It is.
You take a group of people, you assign characteristics to them, and then say that everybody in that group has those characteristics.
Yeah.
I don't think I really fit anywhere, and I don't think a lot of people do. The tech company that I worked for, when we got bought out by this Belgian company, they wanted to improve our HR resources. And one of them was, because we had such a wide range of people, different cultures, it was a global company. So we had non-co-located teams. Your development or testing team might have people from Poland, Belgium, the Netherlands, and India. So they wanted to teach us all at first how to get along with different age groups. Okay. So they give us this document and then start having meetings, and it's like, boomers are this, and this is how you interact with them, and Gen Xers are this, and this is how you interact with them. Like, oh my God, this is like one of the most racist things I've ever seen, even though it's ageist.
So how long ago was this?
I left there in 2016, so I'm going to say 2013, 2014.
Wow.
It was near the end.
I didn't know that went. I mean, I criticize boomers myself every so often, but I didn't think that went back so far. Something new.
Oh, it was nuts. It made me spend 2 hours of my time on this, and it's useless because I promise you that whether you have identified me as a boomer or a Gen Xer, because I was born in 64, so
I think you're a Gen Xer.
Nobody really wants me. If you try to interact with me doing these things, it's probably not going to go well. Just learn me and interact with me, But yeah, I think that carries over into politics. Not all Democrats are socialists, which I think they're starting to figure out now, because there are some quite proud socialists in the Democratic Party, like tripping over each other, trying to build up their socialist bona fides with the, DSA, Democrat Socialists of America. And what is wrong with people when you're running for office and it occurs to you, I am going to show that I am the most socialist, the most anti-Semitic candidate there is, and that's how I'm going to win my primary. How do they think that looks for the general election? That's insane.
How much traction do you think they're gaining?
I hope a lot. because these are the people I want to run against, because it's easy. This is New Hampshire. Probably half of the Democrats in the state are NRA members. I know they are where I live. And they don't want crazy from either side. A lesson that Republicans learned in 2011.
With the Tea Party?
Yeah, and we had a supermajority in the House, and the attitude was, we can do anything we want. And we did, and that is just simply never a good idea. The average people who aren't watching Fox or MSNBC that decide the balance of power in the state, they want us to fix their roads. They want their taxes to stay stable or go down. And then they would like to forget I exist. Yeah. And I apologize to my colleagues if that bruises their egos, but it's a fact. And you get loud and noisy, they're going to go, yeah, I don't want you. I'm going to vote for the other guy. So, yeah, it's hubris, and you do it at your own peril.
Well, the largest voting block's independents in New Hampshire. So you have to appeal to independents.
The smartest thing I ever heard was actually Gene Chandler, a former Speaker of the House. So when you have big majorities, pass anything you want, but don't make a big deal out of it. Mm-hmm. That's exactly how you do it. It's like when I'm training candidates, it's tough because a lot of them were activists. So they're all fired up, they're pumped, and they want to convince people on the issues. Like, that's not your job anymore. Not to convince them on the issues. You're running so you can go do something about the issues. You're running to convince them to vote for you. And if they are that well-versed in the issues, they're already going to vote for you or against you, probably. You got to be able to have conversations with the average person that doesn't know, and they just want to be comfortable, know you're going to be a good representative, and that's how you do it. And so the question that I ask them is, you have to decide, do you want to make a point or do you want to make a difference? Because it's really hard to do both.
What do you think is the best path forward for Republicans in this state?
I think we're doing a lot of the right things. We need better messaging that everything we want to do that the Democrats don't want us to do is not extreme, because people buy into that, and I don't think that we've effectively countered it enough. So here are some things that are extreme. Border security, immigration control, reducing federal government spending, tax cuts. Those are extreme Republican ideas now. I just gave you Bill Clinton's campaign platform.
Yeah.
And so it's hardly extreme. These are things that everyday people want. And I think we have to phrase things like that better. Parental rights, great example. I've had so many people get worked up on both sides with the most extreme version of the issue. But I want them to talk about the facts. So I would do it like this. Do you have children? Who should have more of a say in how they're brought up, you or me?
Me.
Who is going to answer that any other way, right? Mm-hmm. And I think they get this idea in their head that government is this magical box somewhere that has all these brilliant ideas. It's just a room full of people that got some people to check a box. And giving me more control over your family is never a good idea. It doesn't even matter if my ideas are good. It's your family, your ideas should be the one that matter. And I want to give you as much freedom as possible to do that.
I think it was Hillary Clinton in one of her I think it was 2016, where she was talking about how children are communal, belong to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a dangerous idea to look at the family, because I don't trust what the government wants to do the majority of the time. Why would I want them to have control over how I raise my kid?
Exactly. And, the school is branching out in all the social stuff. If everybody has great reading scores, great math scores, great science scores, maybe they have time to do some other things. I still don't want them doing social stuff. But until that happens, oh my goodness, stop with all the extra stuff. But the communal children, it used to mean something else. I grew up in New York City, in Queens, and I am not a free stater, but everybody looked out for kids. All right? It wasn't a great neighborhood. It wasn't a bad one, but stuff didn't happen to kids, right? Because even the bad guys didn't put up with that. I remember my first experience with learning how the world works. I don't know how old I was, 7 or 8. A guy that came up to me on the street because we were just outside all day. That was it. Sun's up, get out of the apartment, right? He looks like the kind of person who's probably okay to talk to. And then another guy walks up who definitely looks like the kind of guy I should not be talking to. And he just goes, "Beat it, kid." I'm like, all right, I'm street smart enough to know I don't want to be here. From a distance, I see rough-looking guy putting a beating on normal-looking guy. And when the cops came over, they took normal-looking guy away in the car.
I wonder why.
Yeah, right?
I can only guess.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that happens a lot.
Well,
anymore.
I think that normal-looking guy, what he was getting beat up for,
now I know for sure.
Yeah, but they don't get beat up for that anymore.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't.
Like California right now, I think that they want to change. They want to destigmatize, not to say that guy was, but he probably was a pedophile.
Probably.
And now they want to call them minor attracted persons and destigmatize it. And that's the thing is when the people that are for that are running for office, you probably have nothing to worry about.
It's always wrong. Wrong.
I think younger people are falling into the Democrat Socialist Party because they think that the world that they are growing up in is probably harder to succeed in than the ones that past generations have grown up in.
I don't know if that's true. I have had a weird life getting up to this point. I wasn't able to finish college. So I had to go to work. That's just how it was. And so I was working at a paint store. Then I worked for a cement company that also made nuclear waste containers. So we made cesspool rings and nuclear waste containers. Do you feel safe? I made the reinforcement cages for the nuclear boxes, as we called them, because I could read, so I could do the blueprint. And the cages were pretty complex. We were going to have trouble getting the contract because they wanted us to do a pressure test on the concrete. And this is in the early 80s, and that piece of equipment was like $1 million, and it's not going to happen. And we met with the guy from Brookhaven National Labs and said, okay, look, you just care if the box falls off the truck or train that it doesn't break, right? And they said, yes. Here's what we'll do. We'll make an extra box every week. We pick it up 25 feet with a crane, which is a lot taller than a truck or a train, and we'll drop it on a concrete slab. If it doesn't break, we must be good to go. We got the contract, and we got to drop a 25-ton box once a week, which is really good fun. So I worked for a golf cart dealer and manufacturer. That was actually a really fun job. It didn't pay any money, but it was a lot of fun. I've been an aggregate plant mechanic. I worked at a steel foundry, a woolen mill, and then got the weird job at the tech company. I am pretty well-rounded, but found that if I was just willing to do something, I could succeed as long as my definition of succeed wasn't Elmer Fudd's. I'm Elmer J. Fudd. I want the mansion and the yacht. I mean, so, yeah, the Republican message is harder because the other side says, we want to give you stuff. You flipping burgers at McDonald's, we want to give you $25 an hour.
Yeah.
We want to give you free health care. We want to pay for your college. We want to pay for everything. And the Republican message is, we're going to help you figure out how to do that yourself. I don't know which would have worked on me when I was 16, Well, these guys want to give me everything, and these guys are telling me to go figure it out myself. I feel more supported by the other guys. The problem is, though, then you become a slave to that. You have to keep voting for it. You have to keep doing what they say. You have to keep the identity politics that they want you to have. Our message is both harder. No, we're going to give you some tools, maybe a little help up, but you need to work for it. But we're also telling them, freedom, you can do it any way you want. We don't care. It is up to you. Have the kind of life that you want. Have the values that you want. Have the beliefs that you want. Not my business, not my problem.
Do you think that government has grown exponentially, though, over the time since you've started working compared to now?
Yes.
There's more regulations now. And there's also a lot more government debt right now, which has led to a lot of inflation.
Why doesn't anybody care about that?
But I think that's like a common thing that we could really bring people together on is if we could teach younger people that the reason why a house that you could buy for $40,000 in the 80s worth $800,000 now, a lot of it has to do with printing money.
Yes.
And that's what's killing, that's what's amplifying the Democratic Socialists. They don't hear that from their side. They just hear that greedy people are making all this money off of, rising prices.
Yes.
They don't understand why the prices are rising. And that's probably, I think, the biggest disconnect.
And a lot of it is also obfuscated by the fact that the numbers don't mean anything anymore. So, like raising the minimum wage, that's stupid because prices go up. And in terms of purchasing power, you're in the same position you were in before. I never cared what the number was on my paycheck. I cared what I could get for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people know how to think like that anymore. Like, a new car. Really, $100,000 for a pickup truck? That I didn't pay that much for my house, and it's on 8 acres.
Mm-hmm.
I did buy it 26 years ago. But still, why are you paying that? Because the numbers don't make sense, and also they're willing to finance for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, financing is probably one of the biggest things. Same thing with mortgages. People don't understand that mortgages made buying a house more accessible to so many more people, which drove up the cost of housing to begin with.
Yes.
And now you have banks that are making tons of money on interest.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I pay my mortgage and I see how much goes to interest, I'm like, how is this legal?
Did you read your Truth in Taxation document where they tell you what this is actually going to cost you at the end?
No.
Yeah, I guess everybody should, but...
Where is that available?
They're required by law to give it to you at your closing.
Oh.
For the financing.
Oh,
it
wait,
was
yeah.
in the giant stack of papers where they just probably wore you out and you were like, yeah, next.
So, yeah, over time, I'm going to spend 3 times as much as I bought my house for.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
My house, believe it or not, was only $73,000, but the payoff was going to be like $200 and something thousand. My father-in-law had the most expensive Ford Taurus in the world because he traded a car in that he still owed money on, and they rolled it into the financing on the other one. We're like, you understand that, and this was a lot of years ago, you're paying $60,000 for a 2003 Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
Like, it's $300 a month. Okay, but it's also $60,000, and that is a huge disconnect in today's society.
They haven't been teaching people this.
And they don't care, right? Because they're buying it for $400 a month, not $80,000. They don't care about that, and they should, because you're on the hook for that.
Yeah.
For a long time.
But young people aren't being taught this. I think that there are some outlets there's Financial Audit. That's it's a guy on YouTube, and that's a podcast that he does. And so the younger kids are seeing that on Instagram and X and Facebook, all of his clips and all that. And that is actually teaching people, I think, to learn how to budget properly. I think it is possible if you learn how to budget, but I do think that the dollar has lost a lot of buying power over the years.
Oh, yeah, it has. The statistic that people should look at when they're trying to decide are things better or not now isn't how much stuff costs, because it's that number's become meaningless. What they should look at is percentage of income. So it doesn't matter that a new car is $50,000. It's what percentage of your annual income is that.
Do you think that that's gone up or down?
That percentage has gone way up, I think, especially with financing. I'm old enough now that I remember when it was not normal for everybody to have a credit card. My grandparents, they bought a new car every 10 years for cash. They'd buy the car, trade in their old one, and then start putting away money for 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, they'd trade in the car, give them the money they saved, buy a brand new car. They never financed a car in their lives. I'm not sure you can do that easily now, but it doesn't occur to people to try to do that. Like, why give some company you've never heard of the interest when you can put it in your own bank account?
A lot of people will get rid of their cars just because they need a few $1,000s of work. And they'll just go buy another $50,000 vehicle.
Yes.
Because of the convenience of having something that you hope is not going to break down, but there's no guarantee that it's not going to.
Yeah, I can't have a new car because of the miles I drive.
Mm-hmm.
I would chew right through the warranty and still owe money on the car, and I don't ever want to be in that position. So, It's an older gentleman. Why do you deal with those older used cars? You have to deal with problems. And I'm like, you're paying $400 a month. I paid $2,000 for this car. If I drive it for 6 months, set it on fire, and go buy another one, I'm actually ahead of you economically. And so I get to change cars every few years. I'm driving the most expensive one I've ever bought right now. It cost me $5,000. And so far, it looks like it might work out. But yeah, and then you decide if the car is worth putting the extra money in. $800 for a fix versus a couple of grand for a new one. I have to make those decisions. I think people would be better off if they had to make those decisions.
I have a 10-year-old truck's completely paid off, and whenever I need something, if it's something I think I can fix, I use YouTube and buy the tools I need. Mm-hmm. And that usually saves you money.
Oh, yeah.
Not time. Sometimes it takes longer than it should, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I did it for so many decades that now I've hit a point in my life where it's actually, I've got a garage that I actually trust, and they're really reasonably priced. It's just worth it to me to not be crawling under it. I did my time,
Young kids, though, they don't know how to change tires.
My son he just did a brake job. It was front brakes only, but he did it in 20 minutes.
Nice.
From jack up to jack down, nice. 20 minutes flat. So, yeah, he's like, why do they charge $300 for this? Because they can.
Because they can.
But, yeah, he's done exhaust work, changed an alternator. That one was funny. It was a 2003 Volvo that he was driving. Now, the alternator's right there. You can see it. But it's hard to get out. So we finally get it out, and it's like, I can't get the new one in. And we're trying like every possible combination of how to angle this thing to slip it between the support bars to get it into its space. Really aggravating because you can't move those bars, but once it's in the space, you actually have room to work. So I had just sat down and just started drinking coffee while I thought about it, and he goes, I need help. I'm like, okay, what happened? He goes, I got it. I said, how'd you do it? He goes, I don't have any idea, but I don't want to move.
Well, that's the one thing about AI that people are always, they think that it's going to cost people jobs. It might if people learn how to work on their own vehicles. It's going to cost mechanics money.
AI can't change your tires.
It can't change tires, but it can teach you how to do it.
Mm. Yeah. That's great. That should happen more. You see that robot teacher in the Seneca Nation?
No.
Okay. So they've got a robot teacher for their high school, I think. And she can't walk around, but it's a humanoid robot, looks like a woman. Silicone skin, looks like a woman, can move the upper body, has facial expressions. Going to use it as a classroom aid. Cost him, I think, $57,000. No health care, no pension. I understand the economic model. I pay it once. It's still kind of creepy. And I'm looking at this model who looks like an attractive woman in her late 20s with makeup and lipstick. And I'm thinking, it's a teacher. That's a little creepy. Why didn't they get like Mrs. Doubtfire or something? And then I realized that the company that sold them the robot used to be a company that made other kinds of
sex robots.
Yeah, that. I just didn't want to say it. Yeah. So Sally might have been one of those, but now they have it in there as a teacher. Like, is this going to happen to U.S. schools? I don't know, because this is the Seneca Nation, so it's technically not the United States. But yeah, you know how it is today. If one person did it, everybody else is going to. I don't like it. I want human beings in the classroom. I don't want robots. I don't know what they're teaching the kids. We've had enough cases where AI chat services were trying to convince people to kill themselves. I don't care what the controls are. After hearing that, I don't think we're smart enough to be doing this right now and trust it.
Yeah, I think there's a lawsuit going through right now about that. Convinced a young woman to kill herself.
Yeah.
I just saw that today in a headline. I didn't read the whole thing.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah. Do you think that with the way things are going, though, if we're just going to resort to AI robots to teach kids, do we even need classrooms or the traditional schools as they are?
I don't know. This is the first one. And every time I see one thing that seems totally crazy, other people end up doing it. So yeah, no, this one I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I don't want to replace human teachers. The problem with teachers now too is that they have too many constraints on them to control their classroom. I want good teachers who are able to do their jobs. And honestly, when you have administrators becoming millionaires, and that's not hyperbole, they're making $200,000 a year and they work for 20 years and getting a pension on top of that. Yes, they're becoming a millionaire off of your tax dollars, and we're paying teachers $60,000. That's not right. I want to see it the other way around.
Do you know?
I don't want to make teachers millionaires, but you got to chop down those administrative salaries and give some more to the teachers.
When did that start? Do you have any idea?
No, I mean, it'd be an easy number to get. The numbers are insane, and the justification is always the same. Well, we have to pay that to get people. I'm not there. I want to know, do you really need those people? They've made up positions. My school district had a business manager who was making $90,000 a year. Like, all right, the guy producing a work product that's worth that. But then it became the chief financial officer with the raise that you can imagine. And now we're up into six figures. For a rural school district, stop it. And like, well, it's what we have to do to be competitive. I don't believe that. I think that if we just stop that, there will still be people that want to do the job, that will come in and do the job well for a lesser salary. But it's got to stop. At the very least, we need fewer of them, because this is liability to you locally and the state, because they're in the state retirement system that goes on, exponentially. So you bring somebody in, they make, let's say, $150,000 a year, work 20 years, and they're collecting their pension. Okay, you might be paying them their pension for another 20 years, and they're not even working. How does anybody not understand that this number balloons? It just always gets bigger. It's not sustainable.
Oh, that's why companies don't give out pensions anymore.
Yeah, we need to move to defined contributions, not defined benefits.
There was a bill that Dan McGuire was introducing. He introduced, I'm assuming it didn't pass, where he wanted to reduce SAUs down to 12 in the whole state. I think 13 possibly. And that would have reduced administrative costs dramatically.
Yeah, it would. And you look at private companies, the companies that I worked for, one of the cost-cutting things that they do is centralizing HR, admin, because that doesn't need to be everywhere. Every branch doesn't need its own HR department, because you should have a centralized policy. The school district should work that way. There should be a lot of things that are centralized, and then you don't maybe need that many administrators. I'm in a really awkward position because I can see the People's Republic of Vermont across the river from the town I live in, but they're doing some things better than us. They have been going through this whole consolidation argument for a while now, and the argument goes the way you would expect. If you have a local school that's been there forever, you don't want to lose it, you don't want your kids to go someplace else. I get that. That's the emotional argument. But sometimes it's what you have to do, because enrollment is declining. We can't just keep maintaining the same infrastructure we've always had because we have half the kids. That doesn't make any sense. So looking at consolidation more is definitely a help. My town had a beautiful old school, the Farwell School, buildings from the 1800s. It was used as an elementary school. We didn't have that many elementary school kids anymore, so they made the hard decision to close that and sell it, repurpose it. And, that was a sentimental thing. Nobody wanted to see it go. Heck, I didn't want to see it go, but I understood the argument and believed that it was the right thing to do. So we absolutely have to pursue consolidation. And another thing that they do is, in Vermont, they actually have to pass a school budget, or there's a consequence. Here, your school budget or your town budget or whatever doesn't pass, you get the default budget. And there's often not a big difference between those two things.
Sometimes it's more.
Yes, that happened in my town. They'd gotten so used to just voting down the school budget that the one time the school district came in with a lower budget, they still just voted it down because out of habit and ended up with a higher budget. It was sad, not unexpected. But so they have a deadline, I forget when it is. It's before the next school year starts. But up until that point, school district budget fails, they got to vote again and again and again. There was one town that had to vote 5 times. And if you get to the end of this process and you've still failed, they go forward with, I think, an 87% budget. A 13% cut is a real consequence. I think we need to adopt that.
And Vermont does that?
Yeah. I know, right? I mean, I give them some props. They had constitutional carry before we did.
Yeah, they did.
So, but no, this is something that they're doing right that I think we need to look at. There has to be a consequence to not passing a budget. I want to see them have to work harder to do a good job. There are some districts that do. They really do try to crunch the numbers and come in a little lower. That's just not true statewide, though. And I think they all need to be on one standard. And I think an automatic 13% cut is a great incentive, and we should be looking at that.
Democrats will scream bloody murder.
They will. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's their solution to the problem is just more taxes, it seems to be.
Yes. Yeah.
There are several New Hampshire candidates that are run on the Democrat ticket that are proposing a modest income tax and a modest. Sales tax. And I think there was even a wealth tax, too, that I heard from one of them. And they're saying that the state's not contributing enough, and that's why your local taxes are so high. And if we just pass all these taxes, they claim that the local taxes are going to go down. But I mean, anybody with a brain, those independents that you were talking about earlier, if you talk to them about it and say, so here's what's going on, and you lay that out for them, they know that those local taxes aren't going down.
Yeah, and giving them the real numbers sometimes has an impact. So I don't know if you followed at all the whole debacle in Claremont.
A little bit. Okay. I had the mayor on here, the state rep too.
Dale Gerard?
Dale Gerard.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were in a lot of trouble. They did a lot of things wrong. A side note, one of the things that's not happening is they keep screaming about special ed costs. A lot of those costs are reimbursable through Medicaid. My wife used to be a para in the Fall Mountain School District, and she had to spend time every day doing reimbursement forms for their special ed kids. And then you get the money. Do you believe not a lot of school districts do that? They just don't bother putting the paper in? And then they don't get the reimbursement, and then they complain about the special ed costs.
That really?
Yes, really. So, but yes, that's everybody's reaction. They just don't do the work. Yeah, they just don't do the work. And then they put in a bigger budget and go, yeah, it was wicked expensive, so you're going to have to pony up more money. And like, people don't know.
There's no consequences for that?
No.
Wow.
No, there's a lot of things like that. The feds have money to give you, and you can put in the forms or not. The consequences, you don't get the money, but the district's still going to get the money. Does your pocket hurt right now? Because that's what happens. I have no idea if it happens here or not. But so yeah, there's that, and then so they was trying to blame Claremont's problems, which were mismanagement. There is no doubt on the state, because if we had just given them more, none of this would be happening. All right. So I'm getting pounded with hate emails, and I even got some phone calls. I did a local radio show and made the point. So I looked it up. I took Claremont's budget. I divided it by the number of students they have. Turns out they're spending around $21,000 a student. You know how much they're getting from the state? Over $14,000 a student. So the state is literally paying 2/3 of the cost of every student in Claremont. How much is enough?
Right.
My hate mail died because they didn't realize that they believe the $4,000 adequacy number. They don't realize all the extra money that goes to communities like that. Turns out we're already paying most of it. And then you can flip that also into the argument. If I'm doing something for you and you have to pay 30% of the costs, but you don't get to decide how much I spend, you're probably a little annoyed. If you're paying a majority of what I'm doing, don't you think that it's about time you started being involved in my spending decisions? And I haven't found anybody who disagrees with that yet. And voters are going to get a chance to weigh in when tax cap is on the ballot this November.
Yeah, that just passed. She just signed that, 2 weeks ago, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can just go to the polls and say, I know we're not cutting them, but enough's enough. They can get an inflation increase, but that's it. No more extra stuff. It's been frustrating. We give extra money every cycle. The amount of money that we send back for education goes up every year since I've been in, and that's a long time now. But it's always, well, the state's cutting their aid. That's never happened, and I still see it. I see it locally. There was one year, if you look at a graph, you'll see a big spike. My town got an extra $900,000 to put towards education, and then I'm watching a school board debate about, well, we don't know really what the legislative intent was, and we have these projects, and my head explodes. The legislative intent is always tax relief. We said it when we passed it. We said it before we passed it. It's always tax relief. And not for nothing, but I'm right here. Maybe ask me. But no, so I think the town got $300,000 towards tax relief, $600,000 sucked up by projects. And that's normal when your town gets any of it at all. The consequence of that is a lot of my colleagues don't ever want to send any extra money back because they never see it go to tax relief. If you're supposed to get, I don't have any idea what the budgets are here, but let's say your state aid is going to be $1 million, and we're going to give you an extra $500,000 for tax relief. We expect it to be used for tax relief. If you consistently don't do that, it's an honest argument to say, why would we ever send the extra money again?
You're just going to spend more.
Right, and we're like almost there. We got some representatives that would claw their own eyes out before they would send any extra money back because they've seen this happen time and time again in their own districts. And it is nothing more frustrating to be the person that was involved in it, to help pass the bill, and then watch a local thing happen where they go, oh, we don't really know, so we're just going to spend it. Not helpful with getting you more money.
Wild.
Yeah. There's a site, I'll send you the link, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it shows every town in New Hampshire, what your enrollment has done, plummeted, what your state aid has done per student, climbs, and it'll actually give you the breakdown of all the numbers for why we sent what we did to your town.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of categories. So you got the base adequacy, which is like $4,000. A rich town might not get a lot more than that. By rich, I mean property rich. They got rolls of tax revenue running in, as opposed to a place like Claremont where it's not that way. That they don't have that much to work with. So you've got that. If you've got students who are English is not their first language, you get a bump for that. We can't give extra money based on your property value because that's actually kind of discrimination. We needed some other metric that was education-based, and what we found was if you use the free and reduced lunch population of a school district, that correlates really well to towns that have a property value problem. So you get a big bump for however many kids you have in the free and reduced lunch program. There's a couple of others. The talk about special ed aid, we have increased it, but when you do the math the way I did with the Claremont example, it doesn't matter. Like they tried to obfuscate. What about the special ed costs and the transportation costs? You'll always hear those two things brought up. I don't know how to say it more clearly. I don't care, because I took your budget, every dime you spent, and I don't care if you spent it on school buses or Twinkies. I don't care. All the money you spent divided by the number of students, and found that the state paid 2/3 of that. I don't care about the breakdown. So special ed's expensive. Looks like we paid 2/3 of it. So, where's your argument now? But then they'll just ignore that and make more. You're not paying enough for special ed. You're not paying enough for transportation.
You took it away to give it to EFAs.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't get me started. Like, why do they think any of that money would have gone to public schools? And why does anybody think that any court decision ever passed said that the state has an obligation to fund public schools? Because there is none, not one court decision. It says we have a responsibility to fund education. Doesn't say what form. And that's why we pay students. We fund the students. I don't care what school they go to. I'd like them to have options to go to different public schools. My kids went through the public school, and I thought it was fine. Maybe if you live in one place, you'd like your kids to go to another one if you can get them there. That's why we try to have universal open enrollment, but, that failed. So, it's not, we are not out to destroy public schools. We'd like to help them be more efficient, more competitive, and we just want kids to be able to choose where they go to school, and that's our obligation, to fund the education for the student, not the public school.
I was at a barbecue this weekend, and there's several kids there that are homeschooled, and they weren't 2 years ago. They were in the public school. More and more people have been pulling their kids out, and I just kind of listened to what people were saying, and what I heard was that people are worried about what their kids are being taught in school.
Yeah,
and that's why, and this is elementary school, people are going the homeschool route.
Yeah, I don't understand all the social stuff that goes on in schools. Because I'm old now, we didn't have that. We went to learn school subjects: reading, writing, math, science. That was the school's job. They didn't teach me what to think about other people other than to treat them well and respect them.
Right.
Manners. We were taught manners.
Right.
And probably not even topical, but I have made it one of my life's missions to memorialize this man anytime anybody puts a microphone in front of me and I can work it in. My fifth grade teacher. Do you remember your fifth grade teacher?
Yes.
Okay. I will never forget my fifth grade teacher. He was the greatest teacher I ever had, Mr. Zimler. He was an extremely proper, sour-faced older gentleman who always wore a suit and tie to school and wore a fedora because it was the 70s. And, we heard he had a rough reputation, and this is not going to be a good year for us. And he was extremely tough. He demanded excellence, demanded that we learned. And there was one day he was late, which was mind-blowing to us. Mr. Zimler must be dead. Otherwise, he would never be late, ever. He came in carrying this box, and it was Halloween. He puts the box on his desk, takes his hat off, folds his hands in front of himself, and apologized to the class for being late and not respecting us, and then said, however, we've all done a lot of really good work, and he thought we deserved a reward, and he bought us a Halloween party.
Oh, cool.
And later, it got hot. It was a New York City brick school, no air conditioning. Had his sleeves rolled up one day, and there were numbers on his arm. Mr. Zimler was a concentration camp survivor, so he wasn't going to take any crap from anybody because he lived worse than your worst nightmares. But we learned that year. I remember things I learned in the fifth grade, and I'm 62 now. So yeah, we need, there won't be any like him, probably, but we need more that are getting close to that. So thank you, Mr. Zimler, wherever you are.
Well, a lot of teachers that you see that are coming out now, the younger teachers, have gone through the higher education system that we've seen promoting a lot of this DEI propaganda. I'd call it propaganda. As far as race discrimination against, creating this idea that you need to elevate certain people because of the color of their skin. And that's not how equality works. Equity, essentially.
Yeah. Equality of opportunity or equality of outcome.
Right.
And no, everybody should have an equal chance at success. I don't want anybody discriminated against because of who they are or where they came from. And by that, I also mean I don't want people discriminated against because they're not one of those groups. And I thought we got rid of quotas. SCOTUS ruled on that a while back. And they just seem to keep finding other ways to work it in. Although I'm happy to see a lot of the universities are being cracked down on now with DEI hires, because it's not fair, it's not right. And worse than that, they instill this in the students. So you have this generation coming up that's going to have this in their core, and they've even taught them to be confrontational about it. At UNH, cultural appropriation was the big outrage, and they were supposed to, find kids that were engaging in this and confront them. Okay, when I was in school, I know how that would have worked out, and it's not good, and you go into the campus police department when it's over, and maybe the clinic, but they were upset at people wearing sombreros and fake mustaches on Cinco de Mayo. I have Hispanic friends that make money selling those things. They are not offended. And since when is embracing somebody else's culture for a day and participating in it offensive? When I went to the Italian street festivals in New York City, everybody was Italian that day. When I went to Polish Town out at the end of Long Island for their Oktoberfest, everybody's Polish that day. And they liked it and they welcomed it. And if you showed up at one of the Oktoberfest things wearing lederhosen, they weren't offended. They gave you a free beer. So I don't know why people have to be so offended by people participating in your culture. Be complimented. It's like people have to be upset about something all the time. I don't think that's healthy. I have enough things to be upset about, and I actually work trying to find things to be happy about because I don't want to end up in a room with this type of padding.
In the 16 years you've been in the State House, have you seen any of that moving into the State House and how politics have been in New Hampshire?
Yeah. When I started, the big thing was just gay marriage or not. That was it. And but now it's all the rest of it. And trans activism has definitely risen to the top. So the same-sex marriage had already passed when I started my first term, and we had a bill to repeal it. That was a hard vote. I couldn't vote to repeal it. People had already, based on the law, come here, made life plans, and I didn't go there to take people's rights away from them. And that was already the law. We're not going to upend people's lives. So I got my butt kicked for that. Clearly a rhino, because I support the rights of a man and a man to get married and have all the guns they want while they grow weed in their backyard.
Yeah.
So it's like their life is none of my business. Just don't make me be your life. Don't force it down my throat.
Yeah. I think the only argument really is, in my opinion, like, is if there's a church that doesn't want to marry two gay people, like, they should have the right not to.
Yeah.
Like, gay people can go get married and just do it their own way. In their own, there's churches that will marry gay people now. So
yeah. Oh, and the churches. I mean, how did we get to this point? It's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to protest everything that offends you, I don't know where you're going to live, because I see something every week that offends me, but I don't make them stop. I just move on with my life because I don't have to be that. I'm free to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
If a business doesn't want to participate in one of these cultures, they shouldn't have to participate.
Yeah.
So they also shouldn't go out and find these people and beat them up. Like, don't persecute them. That's what I was trying to get at with the cultural appropriation thing. You're just participating, but you're not forcing anybody to do something.
Yeah. So, Sherman Packard's not going to be running for Speaker of the House.
Correct.
Are you planning on running?
I am running right now.
Are you?
I am.
I thought I saw a website that said that.
SteveForSpeaker.org.
Nice. And why do you want to be the Speaker of the House?
I think that, I'm the only day one candidate, because Sherm has traveled a lot and also been very generous in letting me do every aspect of the job over the last 6 years. I'm prepared to roll on day one, and we have so little time. We're going to choose our caucus nominee in November. We're going to have Organization Day the first day of December, and bills need to be hitting committees the first week of January. You got 2 weeks to figure it out. I don't need to figure it out. I already know how to do it. But there are some things I'd like to see happen that have not been happening. when leadership members get fired, the worst thing that we have to do. I don't think there's a lot of transparency in how that happens. Did they hose us on one important vote? Was it a compilation of votes? I want to make that criteria clear out of the gate, and a condition of employment for people that are in leadership. Like, I don't know what the number is. If you go against us on 4 caucus priority bills, I'm going to consider that your resignation. So don't be surprised. That's just how it's going to be. Letting people know what the criteria is afterwards, which is kind of what I feel has happened, that's not good for anybody. I want to do more cross-training. We've got a light bench, and we've just lost some experienced people. And I want to see ongoing training problems. People always ask, how do you get into leadership? Like, there's a secret handshake. There isn't. Do work. Do it well. Tell us you're willing to do more. You're hired. I mean, that's often how it goes. That's how I got here. I just started doing things. I didn't need to be directed to do it. I became the chair of the Transportation Committee, appointed by a guy I thought hated me. Do you know the whole story about how Sean Jasper became Speaker?
No.
Okay, so Bill O'Brien was running to become the Speaker again and was forcing an open vote, which has never been done. The vote for Speaker is a secret ballot because they get a little contentious and we're supposed to be one team afterwards. This was received as, you don't trust the caucus. You need to see the ballots. And he lost votes he was just never going to get at that point because they were essentially giving him a legislative finger. No, that's how you feel about it. Here's how I feel about it. On Organization Day, the Speaker has to get a majority of the votes. You can turn in a blank ballot, and that's what was happening. And after a couple of votes, Bill wasn't getting a majority. Sean offered himself as an alternative. We had a very contentious caucus, and then Sean ended up becoming the Speaker on the next vote. Now, my history with Sean was we always were in the wrong place at the wrong time on opposite sides of something. We had a yelling match on the House floor once during a special session. I mean, it was that bad. And I was like, great, this guy's a Speaker. I'm done for 2 years. I had a phone call, and I need you to come in for a meeting. I'm like, God, Sean, I haven't even done anything yet. Come on, just wait. And it takes me almost 2 hours to get Concord. So a meeting is a big deal. And he's insistent. No, I need you to come in for the meeting. You know what? Fine. Before cell phones, I could actually slam the thing. It's very satisfying. Wants to see me at 9 o'clock. Great. So I get up at 6. I get ready to go. And I have 2 hours to prime myself for the fight when I get there. And I walk into the Speaker's office. And I go, I'm here. What? And he goes, I'd like to make you the chair of the House Transportation Committee. I have never had my legs chopped out like that in my life. Like, no, really, why am I here? Because, look, I know we had our differences, but everybody agrees you're going to do a good job at it. You've done extra work, gone above and beyond, and you're the right person for the job. I want to see more of that. I don't care if people like me. I don't care if I like them. It's going to be run like a business. That's why I want to be the Speaker. I want to hire the right people for the right positions and make the business running the House as efficiently as possible. We can definitely give them more support, more continuing education, and I don't think we ask them enough, what do you want to do? Do you want to do more? Because on the few occasions where I have been able to do that, I've been surprised by the answers, and we've gotten some good people. Caucus unity is a hard thing. We've got a fight going on about how we approach housing right now. And too often, that fight is carried out on the House floor when bills are up. We have one group that is more individual property rights, another group that is more municipal property rights. Together as a town, you vote to decide the character of your town and what regulations you have.
Local control.
Yeah, which, by the way, Republicans don't believe in and don't want, right? Because we don't want your town to have local control for gun regulations, local taxes, vaccine or mask mandates. We don't want any of that. But when it comes to building a house, now all of a sudden we are firm defenders of local control. I hate hypocrisy and I won't do it. But the upshot is I want to get these camps together and figure out what their position on housing is as a family, as a caucus, because I think they can find agreement if they just back off from the most extreme positions on both sides. Yes, property owners should have individual property rights, and I hate it if I have to ask permission to go do something on property they own. Why did I buy it? Why don't I just rent? I understand that. I also understand when I hear that Concord is the hardest place to build in the entire state because the regulations change too fast. If you're making a 3-bedroom house that's safe, solid, and sound, that should look the same here in Effingham or Nashua. The house itself should be the same. It obviously drives up expenses when builders have to figure out, well, what are the local regulations here? Does it have to have 2 bathrooms or not? Because bathrooms are expensive. Minimum, $15,000 for a bathroom. That can come off the purchase price. And like we were talking about earlier, if you're financing and it's on your mortgage, that $15,000 is $45,000 by the time you're done, right? So you want to lower housing costs. Some things should absolutely be standardized, but no, not everything. And some things should be the domain of the property owner. And I'm going to make myself and the Speaker's office available to those groups to come in and duke it out with the doors closed so that we can go out as one team when we have a session and not be speaking and voting against each other, because that's not good for the party. There are a few other things that we can do that with. And we always have different niches and factions within the party, different caucuses. We made time available for them to meet, but then it seemed like there wasn't interest. I'm going to work hard at that. I want those people in the room together so that they can hear what the other factions are saying. What does the Liberty Caucus have to say? What does the House Republican Alliance have to say? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Can we work it out here before we start working on bills? I want more backroom prep work done so that when we go out on a session day, we look like the competent, calm stewards of your money that you can trust to run the state. These are the things I want to achieve as Speaker.
Nice. And so if you win Speaker of the House and you bring all that experience to the table, what are the likelihood that you'll get everybody on the same page?
Everybody?
Yeah.
Zero.
On the Republican side.
Yeah, we
you must be.
Do you mean votes or on these issues?
Well, you have to get them together to get their votes on these issues. So you must be priming that pump right now. Campaigning.
On the issues, I've got a 16-year voting record, so people know where I stand on the issues. No, I'm approaching this as, when I talked about candidate training, is to try to teach them how to get people to vote for you, and the issues, people know what the issues are, so I don't need to educate them on that. I'm trying to get them to think of this as you are hiring. Mm-hmm. You're hiring a Speaker of the House. You need one that understands what the job is. You need one that understands that the Speaker's office is a nonpartisan office. We speak for the entire House. We take care of things for Republicans and Democrats. The art of it is explaining to people, and this is where you get those undeclareds, without using the R&D words, how the things that we just passed, Republican bills, are good for everybody. That needs to be done a lot more, and I can pull that off.
Nice.
But yeah, getting people to vote for the Speaker, I want them to decide who is going to do the best job, who's going to take care of them, and who has the most knowledge of the job. A big part of that is educating them about what the job is, because a lot of people don't know that we manage facilities and personnel. All these construction projects that are going on in Concord go through the Facilities Committee. The Speaker chairs the House Facilities Committee. The Speaker chairs the House Rules Committee, which is critically important to stopping craziness or getting things that we want. So that's really what my campaign is. Here's all the stuff that you need the Speaker to do. Now I want to tell you why I'm the best person to do those things. So yeah, it's really a two-step process. I never knew what the Speaker did besides stand up there and bang a gavel, and that is like 5% of the job.
How long did it take you to learn what the Speaker did? Became the Deputy Speaker?
Every day.
Every day. From the start to now.
Yeah. I guess there hasn't been anything recently, but yeah, things would crop up where I'm like, oh, we do that. I was shocked to discover that I had the job of mailbox czar delegated to me by the Speaker. We get to approve things that are put in the legislators' mailboxes in the anteroom. Not things that are mailed, but sometimes people come in, got a whole stack of things and they want to put them in people's mailboxes. We get to yay or nay that. There's a form for it. I didn't see. I was a deputy speaker for a couple of months before the first one cropped up. It's on my desk when I come into the office. Like, what's this? Oh, you have to approve that. Okay, why? And then they explained it was just part of the job. But yeah, things keep cropping up. Just negotiating over real estate. People think, oh, well, there's the majority office and you have the offices in the LOB. That stuff gets renegotiated almost every term between the House, the Senate, and the House Republicans and the House Democrats. For the fight for office space is brutal. And you have to do that. Seating is a bear.
How is the seating assigned?
We have this big thing, and we stick people's names in the seats. Chairs obviously need aisle seats because they may have to charge down to the well at any given moment. Vice chairs should be near the chairs. You have to take care of handicapped accommodations. ADA requests have to be obviously taken care of. And there's not a lot of good seats left by the time you get through all that, because generally over a quarter of the legislature has some sort of disability. That was a walking disability. That's going to affect where they sit. The traditional seats for the majority leader and the chair of finance are in front of the well on either side of the aisle, those front seats. And the rest of the seats in section 2 will be Republican leadership. I have seat 2-6. On the other side, their leadership occupies the front row in the opposite section. Famously, once troublemakers went to the middle of section 3, the worst seats in the House. And then we've had segregated seating for a while now. It used to be mixed seating. And so there's like a line where Republicans have to sit next to Democrats. You try to put people who are not going to be the most extreme version of either party there, so that can be a long day. You're stuck in that seat, especially if I'm rolling through votes super quick. You're not getting up and walking around. So, yeah, it's the logistics are, you get through about the first 90% of it pretty easily, and that last 10 is like, well, okay, we forgot this person. They have an ADA request. And like, well, now we have to move 5 people to make this whole puzzle work. I hate it. It's the worst job.
Of all the things that passed and signed by the governor so far over the last 2 years, what has been your favorite to see succeed?
Oh, the tax cap is the biggest deal because people are going to vote on this. And I don't do op-eds very often, but I did on this because I got so frustrated with the arguments. They went exactly the way I thought. This bill, there's an expression, RTFB, read the bill. Mm-hmm. The bill is whether or not the voters get to decide the question on their November ballot. It's not whether tax caps are good, tax caps are bad. Irrelevant. And all the arguments were tax caps good, tax caps bad. I actually went to testify to ask everybody to please not do that. What I want to hear, if you want to oppose the bill, is why you don't want your constituents to answer this question, because that is a high bar for me. Cases where I would vote no on asking them a question, it's something I already know has a ton of politicized money behind it, and it was a setup from an advocacy group, or we have competing constitutional amendment concurrent resolutions where you can't pass them both because the language would be contradictory. But in this case, there was nothing like that. It was simply, do people want to employ this cap on their local school spending? That's it. And oh my goodness, the arguments, this will devastate the schools. If you're making that argument, you're telling me that you believe a supermajority of your voters are going to vote for this thing, whether you like it or not. If you believe a supermajority of your voters want it, how can you vote against it? Remember your title, representative. Represent your district. If they want it, it doesn't matter if you hate it. It doesn't matter if your party hates it. You got to vote yes. And they didn't.
Yeah. Well, and you call yourself Democrats, which means you would be pro-democracy, and you're saying that your voters shouldn't have the right to vote on that. And what it is that 90% of the people, well, depending on what voter turnout is, if it's a presidential election, you're going to get, 90% on November or something?
Yeah, definitely better than 80 for sure.
Yeah, and even on midterms, you're probably going to get, 60?
Yeah, probably.
But
yeah, especially if it's a snoozer of a midterm.
But in March, you voting,
get 10%.
You get 10%. So,
yeah, so it's easy to game that because I live in a town of 5,000 people. On a blowout election, 2,000 of them vote. So I can totally swing that if I figure out how to get 1,001 people to turn out for my issue. Not that hard, especially if you're willing to invest in it. So most people are going in November, and they're going to see this, and they can vote on it or not. And it's still going to take 3/5 of the voters to pass this. So it's not like it can just slide through. In many towns, that's going to have to be a bipartisan vote. Okay, I don't want to give away my secrets, but one of the things I do is analyze districts, and we got a couple that are almost perfectly 50-50. If this passes there, that means Democrats voted for it, period. That's just what happened. So, yeah, give the people the choice. And I didn't hear one honest argument for why people shouldn't vote on this, just that, a tax cap would be bad. Really frustrating.
Yeah. So in 16 years, what has been your favorite moment being a state representative? Most memorable moment?
Memorable? Okay. Well, I don't like to tell this story, but I will. Special session on expanded Medicaid when we were in the minority. 2013. I was the only Republican in my county that got reelected in that blowout. I don't know if you were around then, but 165 House Republican seats were lost nationwide. 125 were in New Hampshire. So we got spanked hard. So we're having a session on expanded Medicaid. And one of the things they did was create this narrow network, and my county was being left out of it.
Narrow network?
Yeah. So they were going to control costs by restricting the hospitals that could do Medicaid patients. And my county wasn't on the list. And it is hard to get anywhere from my county. And enough people where I live had said, we need to be included in this. So I was going to bring an amendment to make sure that my county was included. And I guess that was a big deal because the powers that be made some deal. We were going to get through this thing without amendments. I didn't make that deal. Worse, I gave my word and I don't break my word. I said I'd bring the amendment. So this is happening. I'm a uniter. I had Al Baldessaro, Sean Jasper, Bill O'Brien, and George Lambert standing in front of me. They got me at the Sergeant at Arms door next to the Speaker's rostrum, yelling at me that if I bring the amendment, Dave Campbell is going to bring a cloture motion, and that'll be a horrible precedent for the House, and it'll be all my fault. I'm a nuts and bolts guy, and I'm like, it's not my fault, it's Dave's fault, so go yell at him, but I'm doing this, and besides, I gave my word, you're not stopping me. And they're adamant. What I found out later was they were trying to keep me there long enough that I would miss the opportunity to bring the amendment. But I had enough, and it happens sometimes in the House that everybody just stops talking for a minute. It's weird, just goes silent for no reason. And that happened at the very moment that I yelled, you know what? Screw you. I don't work for you. So everybody heard that.
Just before YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, damn it.
Thank you. And I went up to bring my amendment. So that's one that stands out. Oh boy, I don't know. I don't miss the soccer field tournaments at all and wish I could burn them out of my brain.
I don't remember that. I don't know about that.
We had to meet off site because of the Rona, and we were at this indoor soccer field in Bedford. People brought beach chairs and kicking a beach ball around in the back. I'm like, this is still a House session. It offends me because I'm not like other people. The best moment, too, that I will ever have is when I first got elected and walked into that chamber, the oldest legislative chamber in the country, where the original body still meets, continuously used, and is beautiful. Walked in as a representative and went, this can't happen anywhere else. I'm nobody, and I'm allowed in here. Matter of fact, I've got my own seat here. And I mean, you feel that, the honor that it brings to you. And then the first time I ever got to preside in the House chamber, I got to preside in Manchester, at the Doubletree, and at the soccer field. Totally not the same. But being able to stand in that chamber, I'm not special. And I got to preside over a House session. That's something I'll never forget, and there's nothing like it. Those are the biggies. I've had fun bills. We were the first state to pass regulations on flying cars.
Flying cars?
Yes. Sorry, roadable aircraft. But yeah, they exist. There's a company in Massachusetts that makes them. So like the wings fold up and you can drive them on the road. And the problem was, is it a car or is it a plane? How do you register it? Who gets to inspect it? Obviously, you can't bring this down to your local garage for an inspection sticker because the minute someone who's not certified in airframe mechanics touches it, you're grounded. But I just went simple. All right, well, it's going to need a license plate. And also, we already register airplanes, so why don't they just keep doing both of those things? And I found out that our aeronautical division has to certify aircraft as safe every year, and it goes through this process. Like, all right, well, if they're doing that, you don't also need the car inspection because the airframe guys are not going to let it go out with bald tires and brakes that don't work, right? And the lights are different, so they're going to check that. And yeah, we got the bill through. We set up one of the first autonomous vehicle commissions. That kind of petered out, though. I was disappointed in the outcome because we kind of were fed this line that all these companies wanted to come test here because of our terrain and the maps not being accurate. And
you could help with that.
Yeah. No, New Hampshire's not a big market for those companies.
No?
No, there's not a high concentration of Lexuses and new BMWs running around our roads. Follow your GPS at your own peril and don't ever try to get to my house with GPS because even with four-wheel drive, you're not going to make it. So yeah, I got to be involved in some interesting things. One of the hardest things I had to do was chair a commission to decide if we should require seatbelts in school buses. Clearly not. This was the result of a crash in, I don't remember where it was, Kentucky, I think. A couple of hundred kids died. And so it became an emotional thing. And we're not going to do it. First of all, we can't afford it. But I've got people weeping about dead children in this commission that I'm chairing. And how do I do this? The buses are already designed with high back seats that have flex in them so that in an impact, you can bounce off of that safely. They're designed for you to not have to wear a seatbelt.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And in a rollover, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But then also, I live on the Connecticut River, and at the time, the road was in pretty bad shape, like literally falling into the river. And I just keep having these images of a school bus flipping into the river, and all the kids are belted in. Most of them are going to die.
Right.
I tried making that argument, but then I still have, but kids are dying, weeping kids. I learned some interesting statistics. Most kids that are injured or killed in school bus related incidents are outside the bus at the time because people didn't stop and pay attention. But it wasn't working. I wasn't getting anywhere. I needed a new strategy. So I said, okay, you know what? You win. We're going to write the bill. What do I write first? Because I was confident they weren't going to be able to figure out how to actually require everybody to do this and pay for it. And that led them to the recommendation that we didn't have to do this. So sometimes instead of just digging in and being stubborn, I was also prepared to accept the outcome that I was wrong, and they came up with something useful. In transportation, my vice chair, clerk, and ranking minority member did that to me once. We had a thing I wanted to get done, the decal plates that we have now. And I was adamant that they be 3 separate bills because we had regular plates, veterans plates. Honestly, at this point, I didn't mean to go the full Rick Perry, but I don't remember what the third thing was. And
that's a throwback.
Yeah. I hate omnibus bills. It's like I have famously been known to get a bill in, not read it, and just go, too heavy, ITL, work it out, and give me something that makes more sense. But so I'm sitting in the office doing scheduling, and I have my vice chair, my clerk, who's been my friend for a long time, and the ranking Democrat come in together. Like, what's this about? And Tom Walsh goes, I know you hate big bills, but if you combine these 3, the cost is lower, the fiscal note's lighter, and the whole thing makes more sense. Can we explain it? They did, and you know what? They were right, and that's what we ended up passing.
Nice.
So yeah, moments like that stick out in my head. I don't believe in fighting over things I don't care about. Like, we're going to fight with the Democrats all the time. Let's just have the fights that mean something. I had this bill for a commission, and it does nothing. It spends no money. It sets no policy. It's people that sit in a room and talk. I don't know why we have them, but we do. And the huge fight was because it was a bill to change the membership, and the Democrats wanted the union guy on, and obviously our side didn't. So they wanted some engineer, I think. I could care less because it does nothing. And so this is an opportunity. You know what? I got my vice chair and the ranking Democrat, and I said, here's what we're going to do. You make your amendment with the engineer. You make your amendment with the union guy. We're going to flip a coin. Coin toss wins, bringing the amendment forward. I'm not guaranteeing it passes or not, but you get to go first with your amendment. If one amendment passes, you don't bring the other one up. They got their union guy. It did nothing, but the appreciation that I got made so many things that we did later easier. They're not going to vote for all the things you want, obviously. But if they don't make a big deal out of it on the floor, that is just as good, because I only care about the result. I don't care about the credit.
So with the midterms coming up, how do you think things will play out in New Hampshire?
I can answer that accurately. I want money. Everybody's trying. I don't think this one's going to be as big a deal as people think. I don't think people are that fired up. I don't believe in a blue wave. One of the things that I've done for our caucus is try to forecast the House races because they're hard. We've got one in Grafton County that we should probably win by 5 points, but the Democrat was the president of the Rotary Club, a choir director, gives to charities, local ones. People love the guy. Not going to beat him. You brought up Dale Gerard. He was a Democrat. He switched to Republican. He's going to be the guy. It doesn't matter what the letter after his name is. So I go through district by district and try to forecast those. I'm usually pretty close. One year I was only off by 5 votes statewide. I came in at 214. We had 213, but lost 1 seat by 5 votes. I would expect that we're going to lose a couple of seats because, honestly, we won a couple that I don't know how we won. But things aren't going to change that much, and we are absolutely going to keep the majority.
Steve Kesselring, is he one of those ones that you thought you weren't going to win? Because he said he won by 8 votes.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but he's one that I would score a bonus to because he's hardworking.
Yeah.
He's not crazy. He's likable.
Yeah.
And he knows how to do the right things. So that gives him a bump. And I have this weird sense that I think his opponent is crazy. So that matters in House districts. You are the closest one to the people. And they want to know that you're okay. You know, you're just a good person that wants to represent your district. Having local knowledge about a district really matters too.
And when I talked to Brian Cole, he said that there's been a lot of progress in areas like Manchester.
There has. And Brian was responsible for a lot of that.
Yeah.
He was doing candidate trainings. I went down and did one for him. and really organized the Manchester candidates as a team, got them out doing the right things, pounding the pavement. Brian deserves a lot of credit for that. If he works that hard in D.C., we're going to be in good shape.
Do you have you endorsed anybody for any of the congressional races?
Yeah, so the endorsement thing, I hate it. So for a long time, I just swore it off because it's overhead I don't need. I'm worried about my own race. And then I thought, you know what? How do I get anybody to care that I endorsed anybody? Because I don't know if they do. So I will look at all the top of the ticket candidates and pick one, just one, and not do any others. And this time it was Brian.
Oh.
Because I know him. I know how hard he works. I know that he does the right things. And it isn't even just how hard he works. He does more. He does more than he's expected to. And he could have just run his race. But he did more than that. He made sure that other people were also running their races. And even more than that, he gave them the tools to do that effectively. He didn't have to do any of that, but he did. So, yeah, he was an easy endorsement. Election before, I endorsed Kelly Ayotte only because I've known her for over a decade. And when she was a senator, she gave me a cell phone number. And I'm like, yeah, right, this thing will work. It's going to be some low-level flunky. And I actually needed to know something. I don't remember what it was anymore. So I dialed the number, and the response after 2 rings was, "This is Kelly." I was so dumbfounded I almost forgot what I needed to ask. And she said, "Well, I have to go vote. Can I call you back?" I'm like, yeah, sure. So I hang up thinking, well, that's the blow-off. No, she called me back an hour later, and the communication was always good. Her office was responsive, and so that's one that I decided to do. I know some people don't like her votes. I sure don't like a lot of her vetoes.
Yeah.
Cranked about that. But as a person doing the job, she was a good choice.
And the governor, too, it's the same thing that you talked about before, where you're trying to get both sides to vote for you. If you're going to be the governor, you can't just be the right-wing Republican and expect independents to vote for you.
There's a couple I got a problem with.
The bathroom bill is disappointing, but how do you enforce that?
Well, she keeps saying that, not this version. What
version, then?
Right. Like, did anybody actually ask her that question? Okay, well, you write the bill. You were an AG, and she's worried about the state being sued.
Yeah.
So this is where we have a disconnect. I understand that it is her job to worry about the state being sued because that costs you money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the state being sued. It's my job to produce legislation that works, that supports the ideals that I want to support. So, yeah, then she kept, the objection is, this goes back to what I said before, read the words. If the words in the first veto message were not this version, just let her do it. Tell her, okay, then, and, you know, if you have a governor that may not cooperate with that, then ask publicly. I'm pretty sure then you'll get a version and pass it. Don't complain that it isn't the perfect thing you wanted. The hardest thing to do is get the first policy passed. Believe it or not, it's kind of easy to tweak them after that. So if you get any version of what you were looking for, you should chalk it up as a win, let it go in the books, and then file bills to amend it afterwards. I'm going to admit this. The Democrats are so much better than we are at incrementalism, and incrementalism is very effective. If they want some big thing and they get the first 10% of it, they go home happy. They go for the next 10%. And, well, it's socialist thinking, right? Like the 5-year plan, 15-year plan. They don't care if it takes a decade because they know at the end of it they can probably get there. We need to approach that with difficult legislation.
With Governor, what was I going to ask? I had a question on top of my head.
Okay. I confuse people.
You do. You're a great guest. You do a great job telling stories and going in and going in depth of everything that you've talked about.
Thank you.
Is there any? That's what I was going to ask. What would you give for advice for anybody that is running for state rep for their first time right now? Because the primaries haven't even hit us yet, and obviously filing period's over.
Yeah. Remember what the most important thing is to the people that are going to decide if you get elected or not. First, learn the partisan voter index of your town. If you're in like a 60-40 Republican town, then you're in a straight-up get-out-the-vote effort, is what it's called. You want to make sure all those Republicans are willing to support you and that they actually go vote. If, though, you're in a town like mine where the undeclareds are big, you remember what your title is, representative. I learned this when I was helping Bob Guida run for Congress, and he wanted me to check up on Charlie Bass, his primary opponent. Find out where he is on the issues, see what he's saying. So I did, and I went to a meeting that Charlie was at, and the first thing he did was establish a personal connection with a bunch of people in the room. Like, oh, hi, Bob, how's your dad? Does he still fish at that pond we used to go to? And I'm like, oh, my goodness, this is what's happening. But he knew something about the important people in the room and had a connection, and then he didn't talk about an issue. He talked about constituent services, where the offices were going to be, how fast you could expect a response, what he was going to do if there was a problem with the office and you felt like you weren't being served. That's all he talked about. So learn things about your towns. You want to be the cheerleader for your district. You want to represent it. Well, then you ought to know something about it. I went to a meeting last cycle in Goffstown, and I don't know what they thought I was going to say. I got up, I looked at them, and I went, so who's Goff? Crickets. You live in Goffstown, and you can't tell me who Goff is. I know that the first light pole was planted in Leominster in 1938 by the New Hampshire Electric Co-op to begin the electrification of western New Hampshire, that the town of Washington was the first place in the country named after George Washington, also the birthplace of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and it has the oldest meeting house still in use in the country, that my town, Charlestown, is where the troops gathered before going over to Bennington. So, know those things about your town and be able to talk to people about things that are non-political. Because if they know about the issues, you probably already got or lost their vote. Be their representative. I just tried this out. I was at the Londonderry Republican Committee event Saturday, and a brand new candidate came up, so I ambushed him. I was sitting there with Sherm Packard, and I said, so where'd Londonderry get its name? And the guy goes, I don't know. So Sherm proceeded to tell him, but they had a whole conversation about Londonderry. Oh, and then I guess there's some dispute about where the first potato was, Londonderry or Derry. They had a whole conversation that was not political. When it was over, I said, so you see what just happened? You talked to him for the first time, you established a connection, and it turns out that you both have an interest in the history of Londonderry. If he doesn't know anything else about you, you're probably getting his vote. And you need to do that with more people, and so do our other candidates. That's how you get the undeclareds. Tell them why you love where you live and help them feel that.
That's really good advice.
Thank you.
Steve, I want to thank you for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
Tell everybody again where they can find your information.
SteveForSpeaker.org.
Do you have any social media?
Oh, yeah, and all the links on that on the website to go there.
And do you take donations for your campaign online too?
I absolutely do.
On that same site?
Absolutely.
Nice.
One-stop shopping.
Would you like to formally adjourn the podcast?
The house is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.